Hi everyone, my name is Chris Burns, and in today's video, I'll be going over beginner tips on how to get into the woods and get your first deer using a method called still hunting. Welcome to Hunter's Haven. So, you want to get in the woods, you want to start hunting, you want to get that deer in your family's cooler so that way you can feed your friends and family and have a great blessing from God. Well, like I said, in this video, I'm going to be going over a lot of beginner's tips that you guys can use to get into the woods and hopefully get your first deer this season. So, the beginning. Where do you begin? Well, the beginning doesn't start with just walking through the woods and hopefully finding a deer. Depending on where you are in the country or in the state of Georgia, I'm trying to narrow it down for you guys. Whitetail behavior can vary because some parts of the country are more colder, some are more humid, some are more hot. The deer are going to be moving a lot more and not bedding down, not trying to stay warm, longer into the winter months. Whereas in some other parts of the country, winter comes fast, it's cold, deer have their patterns are completely different out there. I hunt public land, so we're going to talk more about public land hunting and how to find deer, how to attract deer, and how to do that all on public land. So you're ready to get into the woods in public land. You found a spot, you're entering in, it's very intimidating, walking into the woods, with your buddy or by yourself, it's literally you're leaving humanity behind and you're going into the wilderness. It's a big step, but if you take that first step and you bring your confidence and you're ready to go, nothing else can stop you. So whitetail behavior. The first thing you should look for when you're entering the woods is finding a relatively open area. And when I say open, I don't mean a really big field. I'm talking about an area in the woods where you can see everywhere. Obviously there's going to be trees, but you can see relatively different lanes. You can see really far, 100 yards away. You can see the hills through all of the trees. You don't want to be somewhere where it's so thick that you can't see 30 yards in front of you, because obviously that's not going to be beneficial when you're trying to shoot a deer because there's way too much stuff in your way, but you're also going to be making a lot of noise just moving through the woods, and deer are going to hear that. When you're entering in the woods, I want you to take examples from this video I'm about to play. This is how I move through the woods, whether I'm in very thick cover or I'm actually on a trail like you see. I'm taking 2 to 3 steps very slowly, and then I stop and listen, because sometimes if you move that slowly, deer sometimes don't think you're a predator. Sometimes they think that it's just another deer, because you have to think about how deer move. Deer, for the most part, they're not just running through the woods full blast, just stomping around. They are very cautious animals. They listen, they smell, they can see and hear something 30-40 yards away, whereas us humans, since we're so in tune to being around other humans and so much noise, our senses have been dulled. So when you get into the woods, you're not really listening for that yet. Your senses will get better the more you're in the woods, but just naturally we're not geared to do that. So deer can hear and smell things from a long ways away. So the more you can basically come across as either another deer or another animal that's a non-threat, the deer are going to be more peaceful, more calm, and more receptive of you getting closer to them. That way you can either take your shot or get to your area that you're going to sit at. When you're in the woods, you have to find a place to kind of camp out and kind of mask yourself in with the wilderness. Now, this is where still hunting and the type of hunting I do kind of split, because still hunting, that technique is literally you're made to walk, through the woods very silently, as silent as possible, and you're trying to not really stumble upon deer, but see deer movement. Maybe you're coming across them going to a feeding source, or maybe you come across them bedding down. You're trying to figure out where the deer are, whether you find tracks, whether you find poop, you're trying to figure out where those deer are and silently track them, stalk them, get close to them so you can take your shot. The way I like to hunt is I like to still hunt up until a certain area. When I think this is a good area, I might see deer come through, whether they're traveling through that area looking for food, whether it's, the beginning of the rut and the bucks are just cruising through. This is an area I think that it's very peaceful. Not a lot of humans come back here, so therefore the deer are going to be more safe and not as cautious coming through this area, whether it's does moving to go from one spot to the next. Like I said, whether it's bucks in the rut cruising looking for those does. I want to be in a position to where I can see a large area of space, but also cover myself in areas where I'm not going to be super noticeable that a human is sitting there. So as you can see on the screen, I've dug out a little area. I've moved all the leaves so that way I'm not crunching around while I'm looking. I have my chair, I have my cover scent, I have my rifle. I sit down and I watch these lanes. I watch these trails. I watch behind me. I kid you not, I've been sitting in areas sometimes and deer will walk up behind me and all I have to do is just turn around and shoot them because I'm so still, I'm so quiet. I have my cover scent. I'm in the direction of the wind where the wind's, blowing in my face, my scent's going in another direction. I've studied how this area is, and that's all different for you guys. You have to find those areas in the woods where you would go and sit and think, this is where I think a deer would go. And you sit there, get up really early, get to your spot, sit there. Sometimes, you might not see a deer all day, but sometimes you'll sit there early in the morning. You might hear some footsteps coming towards you or coming down the trail, or maybe a buck's coming down looking for those does. He might wheeze, he might stomp, and once you see those deer and they don't see you, even if you don't have a shot, you're doing so much better than you were when you first went out there, because you're seeing deer. The deer aren't seeing you. They're not getting spooked. You're doing something right. So even on your first day, first week, first month, and you feel like, man, I haven't had a shot this whole time, but you've seen the deer, you're doing something right. Another thing to look out for when you're first getting into the woods, or like I said, this is your first week, second week, first month, always check the weather patterns. When it's really nice, a nice cool day, a nice warm day, there's not a lot of clouds, it's sunny, just like us humans, we're more receptive to go outside, go for a walk, go for a run, go get something to eat. Deer are the exact same way. When it's a nice day outside, expect to see deer movement early in the morning, late in the evening, maybe mid-afternoon, depending on where you are, because it's a nice day. They're going to be out just like all the other animals are. Rain. Rain is a very interesting weather pattern to try to hunt. If it is pouring down rain, I'm talking to where you can't even see, probably not a good idea to go out in the woods. Number one, it's not an ideal situation to be out in those conditions because your weapons, your clothes, you're gonna get soaked. It's just not an ideal situation. But that light drizzle when it's barely raining, perfect time to go out, because deer, are still moving. They're still going to be going through the rain. They're going to be doing what they got to do. They're not really as affected by it like us humans are. We'll get one drop of rain on us and we're like, oh, I got to go inside. Deer are not like that. They're for the most part going to do what they got to do unless it's pouring down rain or unless it's freezing cold outside. Don't feel like if you're out in the woods and it starts to rain a little bit, oh man, I got to get out of here right now. No, sit a little bit. You'd be surprised. You might see a deer come through, a couple of deer come through. It is not the end of the world. Rain can actually be beneficial to you. Number one, it covers up your noise, whether you're walking through the woods, because it makes everything damp on the ground. You got to think, if you're walking through leaves and twigs, if everything gets damp, so much easier to walk through because it's covering up your sound. And then, of course, your smell. There's no more wind for the most part if it's raining, so your smell is not going to be going in different directions, not going to be going downwind. It pretty much makes you invisible. You're like a ninja when it starts raining. So if it starts raining a little bit, do not get afraid, do not get discouraged. Use that to your advantage to either get to your hunting spot or continue to walk, because I guarantee you might come up upon some deer that didn't even hear you coming, and you'll have the chance to shoot. Patience. Guys, patience is something that I cannot stress enough. I am on my second year of hunting, and so far I have shot 3 deer because I have acquired so much patience on being out in the woods. You have to be okay with just being in nature, being still, listening, seeing what you hear, hearing squirrels, the difference between what a squirrel sounds like, between what a bird sounds like, and what a deer sounds like. You must have patience. If you can get your patience under control, you will see more deer, you will hear more deer, and you will potentially shoot more deer during your season. So everything worked out. You had your crosshairs on the deer, you pulled the trigger, you shot it. Ideal situation, the deer drops immediately. Do you get up and immediately run to the deer? No. Please wait at least 2 to 3 minutes before approaching a deer, because deer can sometimes still be alive. They can get up, they can run, they can kick. They're in fight or flight mode, guys. Just how we humans would be if we got injured, our adrenaline starts pumping. We're trying to stay alive. Just like a deer, they are trying to stay alive. So please wait at least 2 to 3 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. There is no wrong wait time for this. Let the deer naturally die before you go up to it and start investigating. You finally made it to the deer's body, you're looking. The best way I can tell you to check if a deer is dead, find a stick, if you have a walking stick, Just like anything else, poke its eye. If its eye blinks, chances are it's still alive, and even if by the time you get that point, if it's still alive, you should back off. But if you poke its eye with the stick and it doesn't move, chances are it's dead, and now you can get to the fun part, the celebration. You've shot your first deer. You have successfully become a good hunter. Now, you have two options. You can drag this deer out by yourself and risk breaking your back, or call a buddy to help you. That's up to you. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. If you feel confident to drag a deer out of the woods to your truck, go for it. If you need help, there is no harm in calling someone nearby that you can get help from. But I know at the end of the day, if you're not able to, just do it a little bit at a time. Do not overwork yourself. Drag a little bit, take a break. You have so much time now. You have the rest of the day. Bring a headlamp. You have until the night. You can get it to your truck. There is no rush. Now the fun part. After you've retrieved your deer and it's in your truck, you have two options. You can find a local processor that may or may not be full. Depending on your area, they'll charge roughly $90 to $130, depending on, if they have to gut it, if they have to do all this stuff to it. Or if you have a buddy that knows how to skin a deer, how to gut it, how to quarter it, go talk to them. Ask them to show you how to do it. I'm sure they would love to. It's a great skill to have. I just learned how to do it, so my next year I'm going to try it myself. It saves you money, and at the end of the day, it just lets you connect a little bit more to the animal that you just killed.
All right, everybody, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed these tips. If you follow them in your beginner hunter, I guarantee you that you will, number one, you will hear more deer, you will see more deer, and if God blesses you, you will get more deer for your friends and family. So make sure you like and subscribe. More videos on the way. Thanks for watching.